Hello, everyone. It is Adrian Perez, your host for this evening. Though unfortunately, we are unable to join you live once more, we are back again for our fifth episode of Kwento To The MMACS, where we interview different creatives of different ages with different fortes. So, for today, we have a guest who is also not from Lyceum, but it was so cool to join us for another fruitful session. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce Sir Marlon Borreo. Hi po.
Hello.
So,
I
how are you
Hello,
po?
Adrian. I'm good. Just came from back-to-back meetings. So, sobrang advertising mode. Okay. Sige. So, sakto.
Buti
So,
kumakain kayo ngayon.
yes. And ganyan naman talaga. Sanay naman ako na ganun ang schedule. That's advertising for you. But I'm so happy to have been invited here. So, props to, shout out to my good friend, ang inyong professor. Si Dale. So I'm glad to be here with you guys.
All right, so let's head right into the questioning. So, first and foremost, your career po is copywriting, right? So,
Yes.
para sa inyo po, what is copywriting? Like, what exactly is it that you do in your profession?
Yeah. The title copywriting can be misleading for many. As a career as it relates to advertising kasi pag narinig mo yung copywriting, 'di ba? Parang ang dating would possibly be parang technical, like you para kang editor ng copy, para kang nagka-craft ka lang ng words, ng sentences, but that's actually just a small part of the job. What is it mostly, as it relates to advertising, when you say you're a copywriter, you are a mas accurate actually ang copy-based creative. What that means is you are a creative, meaning you are tasked to ideate, to come up with concepts. That's 90% of the job. The writing part is actually not, you don't actually write a whole lot. If you think, pag sinabing copywriter, parang sumusulat ka ng mga articles, nobela, not really, not so much in terms of articles. Well, some requirements would task me to write a long form article. Most of the time, I just have to write 5 words. Alam mo, more energy, mas happy. 4 words, right? Just do it. 3 words, right? But the thinking behind it and the process behind those 3 words of just do it, mahabang proseso yan. And it's a process that you learn. I've learned on the fly lang in advertising. But so going back to the question of ano ang copywriter, you're basically a creative that's tasked to come up with advertising, with marketing ideas, advertising ideas. It's just that you are more, ang leaning mo, ang basis ng craft mo would be more on the written word. So, kapag may idea na tayo, kapag may campaign na tayo, naisip na natin yan, kapag naghatian na ng trabaho, for example, so sino yung susulat ng radio script? Kasi di ba pag ina-campaign, maraming components yan. So, mas nandun ang copywriter. Magsusulat ng script, magsusulat ng kung if it's a TV commercial, actually, TV commercial hindi rin eh. Pwede rin kasing, the other one, what I'm trying to say is, the other side of it is, so there's the copy side, meaning written word side, and then the art side. Ito yung mga art director. So, ito yung magdi-design. Ito yung mag-photoshop, may mga magaling mag-drawing, ganyan. But they're also creative, it's just that they're art-based. Ako yung copy-based. But both creatives are tasked with ideating, with conceptualizing advertising and marketing ideas for brands. So, yun ang copywriter. Nagkakaiba lang yung trabaho namin with the art director kapag ang tinatawag natin is yung crafting part na, yung nagpa-finalize na tayo. So, ang task of course ng art director would be mag-layout, mag-drawing, maggawa ng visuals. Yung copywriter would be take care of the written word. So, make sure everything's in the correct grammar. Minsan, hindi naman necessary, but right tonality. Pag may radio material na kailangan sa campaign, mas sa writer yan nanggagaling usually. And then, kung mayroon tayong materials, for example, web pages, headlines, print ads, kung may print ads, in tandem parate. Yan. So I'll be tasked with what words will be there. The art director would be tasked in of what visuals go with it. But it's not always so. What I'm trying to say, it's not always that clear cut. It's the whole idea is it's always in tandem with an art director. So me as a copywriter, I'm in tandem with an art-based person. We attack and we ideate campaigns together. So if you ask me again, going back to the original question, it's a long-winded answer. Copywriter in advertising, at least, it's just another way of saying somebody who dreams up of advertising ideas for brands. Yon.
So, yung word pala ng copywriting, marami siyang natatago na reality, kumbaga.
Yep.
Like, all the conceptualizing and ideas, yung mga
Yep.
Honestly nga, yung alam ko rin sa copywriting, sa journalism lang eh. So, parang hindi
that's what I was trying to say. You would think the first time you hear copywriting, parang, ayan yung magko-correct ng mga text, di ba?
parang yun
Pero kasi kung just do it lang yung words natin, ano pa ba bang i-correct ko doon, di ba? It's not really that eh. Kung more energy mas happy, kung impossible is nothing lang yung words natin. Hindi naman siya necessarily hindi mo siya i-correct or i-edit the same way you would do, in journalism. Iba siya from journalism. Yun. So definitely that's different. So, yun.
So, what pushed you to get in and pursue this path of copywriting?
What pushed me? It's something I stumbled upon, really. Because in college, ang major ko was journalism in UP. So I'm a journalist major. I'm a trained journalist. I'm journalist by training. It so happened that one of my electives, yung parang mga optional classes na I took, is advertising. And then I kind of did well in it, and then nagustuhan ako ng professor. She just suggested to me during that time, ano na ako nun fourth year graduating. Sinabi lang niya sa akin na you seem to be doing well, it might be something you'd like to do. She just heard of an opening in yung Macan daw, naghahanap ng fresh grads. So apply lang daw ako if I'm interested. Of course I'm interested. But I'm not really into the world. Nung in college, hindi ko talaga alam ang world ng advertising. I'm really more into journalism. Wala akong alam na mga ahensya. Ang alam ko lang, by sheer, I guess, awareness, kasi sikat yung Macan, yung pinakamalaki, parang may pagka-household name. Other ones I heard of from my prof is Sachi and Sachi. Hindi ko alam how to spell it back then. Like, tinatry ko i-google, ano ba spelling ng Sachi? As in, I'm not really an insider of the world of advertising. Yun lang yung connection ko doon. And when I went to Macan to apply, I gave my portfolio, ganyan. They invited me to what's called a copy test. So basically, they gave us a brief, and then on the spot, we have to ideate. We have to create ads. Yeah, like they gave us, para I remember that was like 1 p.m. Submit na namin yun ng 3 hours. They just give us 3 hours to ideate. Binigyan kaming brief. And then I had to come up with a TVC, with a commercial. Hindi ko naman do drawing, of course. I just have to come up with a story. Like, paano ko ibibenta yung product, di ba? And then a radio commercial. And then, that's it. They will interview us regarding our submission, and then that's it. I left it there. I left the copy test. And so, fortunately, they accepted me. They liked my copy test. So, nakakatawa dahil yun lang yung on the strength of my copy test, tinanggap na nila ako. They never asked me for my diploma. They never asked me for my grades, whatever. So that's just a side story. So interesting. You don't even need to graduate to get. But I don't advocate that. Of course, you have to finish your study. But I'm just what I'm trying to say lang with that story is that anyone who will show an aptitude for creating concepts. This is something we can discuss later. What concepts, what ideas, what do we mean by ideas, what do we mean by concepts. Anyone who has an aptitude for that, makulit, malikot ang utak, um, medyo saliwa mag-isip, can get into advertising. It doesn't matter what your parang specialty or training even is. I'm a journalist. Mga sinabit ko nga nun, mga articles ko lang na ginawa during my internship. Nung nakapasok na ako, nirealize ko, yikes, ang crap nun. That's like, ano nun yung mga sinabit ko. It's not even gonna... I'm not sure what the people who looked at it thought of me when they saw my quote-unquote portfolio. It's not really an advertising portfolio even. But, so it's a kind of a lucky accident, I guess. It's just that it's just that one class I took, and then that professor who I had parang naging close kami dahil nagustuhan niya ako as a student, maganda yung performance ko sa class niya. She recommended me to this. It so happened there was an opening in Macan. They were looking for fresh grads, and that's it. Parang right place at the right time in a way. So it wasn't really something I actively pursued, like, in college, parang I'm going to be in advertising. It wasn't like that for me. But I'm so happy naman na I discovered it, and I'm still here.
So parang lucky po na na-discover niyo siya, and it seemed right na yun na yung tutuluyan mo. So, na-mention niyo po na yung course niya is journalism nun. So, how are you able to connect your course, which is journalism, dun sa advertising?
Journalism kasi gave me this sense of confidence na I'm a writer. It's kind of weird kasi it's not directly applicable naman eh. But na-realize ko, it just gave me this identity na I'm a writer, which wasn't as solid for myself when I entered college. So, nung nakapasok ako sa College of Mass Comm, na-accept ako sa journalism because I shifted eh. Originally, nakapasok ako ng UP. Ang course ko, you will never guess it. Statistics. Yeah. So, I made really good friends in the School of Statistics, but nung pa-second year na ako, humihirap na talaga yung mga math subjects. Like, you know what? Tigilan na natin to. Okay, lipat na tayo. So, nung nakalipat ako ng journalism, parang yung mas na-discover ko talaga na, mas na-solidify sa akin na, yeah, I'm really more on the art side. Well, journalism isn't exactly artsy, but I'm glad na mas yun ang tinake ko compared to, say, creative writing. Because what journalism does, is to really simplify and clarify your language. Walang cheche-bureche, di ba? Stick to, di ba? Parang very Ernest Hemingway. Parang nagre-report ka lang, as in, and your language has to get out of the way of the story, di ba? Bawal magpalabok, ganyan. I'm glad na yun yung training ko because that's what, I guess that, ngayon ko lang na-discover talking to you, no? Na, I guess that helped me a lot in advertising na parang wag mong dadaanin sa burloloy, sa palabok. Ano yung konsepto mo? Straight to the point. A lot of it a lot of my day-to-day task is always about, can we be more straight to the point? Can we be more straight to the point? Can we be more straightforward? Laging ganun eh. So, journalism helped me with that, I guess. But, that's the more practical part of it. Ngayon ko lang din na-discover, so thank you for asking that. But, on a bigger scale, it helped me gain, parang in my training, in my 4 years in journalism, it helped me solidify my identity as a writer. So coming into Macan, even if I'm not really an advertiser by training, I walked in there knowing I was a writer. I just had to modify it a little bit, or maybe a lot, but I came in there a writer. And that helped me, parang make sense of what was happening. Because I know I'm a writer. I just have to apply my writing skills into the task that's given in front of me. May malaking difference din siya, but that identity of a writer was what I took from my training in journalism. Most of it I couldn't apply because it's not the same, di ba? Yung writing. But the principles of be straightforward, sabihin mo agad what you mean, di ba? Kasi sa news writing, ganun eh. Lead, what you call the lead. That's the most important thing. Wag mong ilalagay sa ilalim yan. It's a lot like advertising. But yung storytelling, of course, yung sa advertising naman, may iba, yung pasikot-sikot. I guess that's just the creativity na lumabas sa akin. But that's how journalism helped me. Once in a while, may mga requirements kami. For example, may mga gustong ipa-check yung client. Mga on the side na to, like, may mga PR releases sila, gusto nilang ipa-check. They know na I'm a journalism major. Okay, Marlon, pa-check natin. So, mga ganon. But, that's the minor part of it. The major part is that my journalism training gave me an identity as a writer. Made me more confident. And kahit olas-olas ako and hindi ko alam yung nangyayari, my first few months, my first year in advertising, I still had a solid parang core na I'm a writer, I can do this, and this is something I can do. I can survive. Parang gano'n.
Actually, parang nare-realize ko nga po na mas malaking bagay na nakapag-journalism kayo kasi kung pumasok po kayo na statistics na yung before nyo, parang hirap talaga mag-adjust nun. Pero ayun po.
Yeah. No, but you'd be surprised. Now, in advertising, something I would like to communicate to you guys kung nasa caching kayo. So sino man yung maging interested, don't be afraid to consider it as a career, even if your training or your major or your interest is, you would think, parang malayo. Actually ngayon, it's very inclusive kasi it's advertising what it values the most. It's not so much specific, skills, but point of views So the more diverse ngayon, kunyari, actually ngayon may interest kami kung engineer ka and then may interest kang pumasok sa advertising. Interesting yun kasi ibang-iba yung point of view mo. So sure, kung statistics major ako, definitely, baka hindi talaga ako mag-apply naman in advertising, right? Ibang career path yun. Data science, which is, quite lucrative din these days. Iba rin yun. But, kung may statistics background, and then lumipat to creative, actually valuable yun. So, kung, di ba, mahilig kang mag-woodwork, kahit iba, there's no irrelevant experience and expertise and interest when it comes to advertising. We actually like that people who have different backgrounds. So yun. Okay lang yun. Nakatulong yung statistics. Some way, somehow.
So journalism po, kailangan careful din yung magagamit na words kasi hindi din po pwede yung sobrang deep pero hindi naman baba. Yung kailangan po tama talaga para may dating sa magbabasa. So, yun. So,
jump is different from leap. Diba? Leap is different from hop. Anyway, so something like that. We can geek out on that on a different podcast altogether.
Opo. Alright, so next question po. What are the skills that you need to explore kapag papasok po kayo sa field na to?
Not so much skills, but I guess traits. Number one, I think, not so much skills kasi you could be a guitarist like me. Alam nito ni Dale, I'm a guitarist. Nagagamit ko siya sa advertising. Some people are mga naggagawa ng mga yung toy figures, nagko-customize ng mga ganon sa advertising. So it's not so much skills Definitely though, if you're interested in applying into an art director position, for example, definitely Photoshop skills, even editing skills are very fine art level drawing skill and are very valued and very useful, definitely. But kung copywriter, nakakabasa ka naman, nakakasulat ka naman, parang pagka-presidente yun lang yung requirement. Yun yung bare minimum. But if you ask me what are the skills, I guess kung copywriter or copy-based ang papasukan mo, less actual skills but more traits like curiosity. Mahilig ka magbasa, curious ka sa iba-ibang topics, even topics na ready kang mag-go outside your usual set of interests. Alam mo yon, kahit sabihin mong, punks ako rocks ako, hindi ako makikinig sa BTS. But if you're curious, what's up with BTS and why are they parang sobrang laki ngayon? That's important. So that's curiosity. So I think that's sobrang kailangan yan sa advertising. Kasi advertising is always about pretty much you're actually saying a lot of the same things na nasabi na before, but you're trying to say it in fresh ways. So if you're not curious, you cannot come up with those fresh ways. You cannot you cannot uncover those fresh ways, fresh connections, fresh avenues of saying pretty much the same thing. Kasi Coca-Cola, soft drinks. I mean, ano pa ba pwede natin sabihin sa soft drinks? Ang tagal na nag-exist niyan, di ba? May bago ba talagang soft drinks na, alam mo yun? Unless nakaka-cure ng cancer yan, then there's nothing really different with your soft drinks technically, di ba? Other than flavors. So how else can you sell it, for example? So curiosity yung biggest trait. Others would be attention to detail. That's very important. Attention to details. Like, it's important. So it goes hand in hand. Curious ka. That's why you also pay attention what makes something that works work. Details yun eh. Diba? Anong difference ng ano ang difference of one story, how it was told, how it was executed versus a similar story. Pero bakit na sumikat yung isa? Parang mga ganun. That's curiosity and attention to detail. So I think those are my top 2 traits. Ngayon, skills, practical, magaling ka mag-Google. That's actually a skill, right? Magaling ka mag-Google, magaling ka mag-Google Docs or PowerPoint, magaling ka mag-design. That's a plus. That's a plus. But other than that, writing. Kasi a lot of it is writing in a voice eh. Hindi naman siya writing, minsan nga sabi ko grammar. Hindi eh. Yun yung medyo difference ng writing in advertising than writing in journalism. Kasi in writing in advertising, you always write with a voice. So when you write with a voice, minsan, kung voice siya ng, you're trying to get the voice of, adopt the voice of a real person. Hindi naman parating correct grammar ang tao eh. Ano nagsasalita, di ba? So okay lang yun eh. So it's not really so much grammar and technical writing stuff like that. That's important. So ano yung sinabi ko? Curiosity, attention to detail. Magkakakabit. My third would be, because I was talking about, parang speaking in a voice, ganyan. It led me to this thought na kailangan observant is very, very connected naman sa curiosity, di ba? If you're curious, you become observant. So and if you're observant, that means you pick up on details. So these are the stuff that would serve you really well if you're interested to pursue a career in advertising. It doesn't matter if you're a copywriter or you're art-based, you're an editor, you're a Photoshop master, you're a copywriter, it doesn't matter. Curiosity, attention to detail, and your powers of observation is necessary yan.
So bagay po, yung pag naging curious ka, mas marami kang nalalaman or kung saan-saan ka nakakarating, especially po sa internet, isang search mo lang kung saan-saan din siya nag-lead and parang pag nakadiscover ka, makaka-influence naman sa magagawa mong output.
Definitely. In terms of rabbit holing, parang ganun. So, there's a difference though. Parang you cannot rabbit hole passively. Kasi pagka ganun, parang mindless ka lang, parang click ka lang ng click, di ba? Scroll ka lang nanood. Maganda rin yung mas may pagka-meta ka sa sarili mo. You're observing yourself. Ba't ko nga ba kinilig to? Ano nakikita ko dito? Even while you're rabbit holing, that's an useful skill. Yun.
So, yung career po na to ba, tingin niya po ba it's for multimedia art students?
Definitely. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean multimedia ka. Art director ang papasok mo. Pwede ka rin copywriter. As I said, multimedia people, lalo na ngayon, specifically in the last 10, 15 years of advertising, we've noticed talaga na the world has really turned towards visual talaga. We've become more and more visual.
Opo.
So, definitely lamang ang multimedia students in terms of that because ang training is how do you visualize, right? Whether it's in static images or in moving images in films or whether you're shooting somebody or you're creating graphics lang, lahat created. It's all visual. So, kung yan ang training nyo, very advantageous yan sa advertising. But it's not just the visual thinking na advantage ng multimedia students. It's also yung conceptual, iba pa yun sa visual skills mo or sa pag-visualize, yung skills mo in visualizing. Iba pa yung conceptual Dahil when I say apple or when you see a picture of when I show you a picture of an apple, kapag kaya mong mag-make ng conceptual leaps like kung picture lang ng apple yan, pero nilagay mo sin ang copy nilagay mo. Iba na 'yon. Kung marunong ka mag-leap like that, and I think multimedia students are very much baka nga di nyo lang alam ginagawa nyo yung mga ganung conceptual leaps yun? Very 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 advantageous yun sa magagamit yun sa advertising. So both the skill to visualize things, visualize concepts, and the more fundamental skill of conceptualizing, I think may advantage yan ng multimedia students. So definitely, advertising is a career that's pasok sa mga multimedia students.
So, sabi niyong advantages tsaka disadvantages nun?
Ang disadvantage, possibly, well, it's not so much disadvantage of the whole field ng lahat ng multimedia students. Hindi naman siguro, but perhaps, since ang kailangan sa para mag-thrive ka sa advertising ay concepts, so yung mga talagang, ang term namin dito sa advertising kasi crafts Pagka sobrang heavy ka on craft, talagang focus mo is to create the most talagang kinakareer mo ang pag 3D, for example. Baka mas sa production, right? Than advertising. Baka mas sa production side, right? Join a film production or a post-production house or a film prod company ang mas bagay. Kung talagang mas craft ang ang focus mo. For example, ayaw mo nagtitingin, nagre-review, nag-aaral ng mga commercial and mga marketing, lalo na ayaw mo humarap sa mga kliyente, ganyan. Ayaw mo yung mga marketing jargon, ayaw mo yung mga aralin gano'n. You just want to design, for example. Gusto mo karili ng Photoshop. You wanna be the best Photoshop designer, artist out there. Illustrator, for example. Baka hindi necessarily advertising ang pinaka, kung yung interest mo, baka hindi necessarily advertising ang fit sa'yo. If your forte is editing videos and you really love, ang hahay ka sa pagka nanonood ka ng mga video ng mga editing tricks, how to do this and that, dun talaga yung forte mo and yun yung interest mo, baka mas sa prod side. But, yun yung, di ba? Yun yung sasabihin ko about that. Kasi kasi a lot of advertising really on the concepts A lot of digesting what clients want to say, may mga briefing documents sila, and then translating it into communications. Baka it might get in the way of your desire to perfect and improve in your skill. Diba? So kung skill talaga ang craft talaga, mas may better fit for you kung yun ang focus mo. Maybe not art director or copywriter in an advertising agency. But anything short of that, kasi I've worked with a lot of very highly skilled and craft-driven people din So, I can't say it din na rule, I can't set that as a rule din So, when you graduate naman, you're young, you can try. you can try anyway and see if it's something, if it's for you. Doon mo naman din mag-gauge Nothing beats yung really getting your feet wet. But, yun lang, as far as I can tell, from where I stand, more than 10 years in it, 13? Yeah, 13 years in advertising. I would say, baka yun, baka, hindi naman disadvantage, but kung focus mo as craft, maybe mas prod side or, yeah, baka mas prod side. Yun.
So, parang pwede naman siya sa copywriting, pero kung yun yung focus, mas babagay lang sa iba. Like, yung sinasabi niyo pong production.
Oo. Or kung artist ka rin talaga, kasi may mga kilala ko, strategy, you would be surprised, ang role niya, strategic planner in an agency. And then yung isa, copywriter. Nagulat ako, they left Macan na eh. So, dati ko silang office mate. Pero nagulat ako, they are posting on Facebook, paintings talaga. As in, ang gagandang, as in on canvas. So, oil paintings. Parang gagaling nila. So, I'm surprised, bakit di sila nag-art director? I guess, they didn't want their skills in art to be for, yung parang makulong at madiktahan ng, gamitin sa trabaho. Alam mo, iba yun eh. Kung ganun ka, mas art, you can do something else and still do that separately. Naman. Or kung gusto mo talagang artist ka, kasi kunyari film, pwede ka mag-director kaysa mag-copywriter or art director. Right? Pwede ka talaga mag-film director. Ngayon, kung magaling talagang fine artist ka, baka mas art. Baka you're doing the world a disservice if yung galing mo sa art is gawin mong pambenta ng products eh. So, might be a loss for the world.
Opo. Kasi yung iba rin po, ayaw nila yung magiging profit. Parang hobby lang po talaga siya.
Oo.
Hindi nawawala yung pagiging special nun kasi hindi siya nagiging commercial lang or ganun.
Ay, hindi na siya spontaneous, hindi na siya yung vision mo.
Opo.
Well, yun na sasabihin ko rin. For advertising is not art. So parang don't go in there thinking na I'm gonna express my art. No, it's all it uses art. Advertising definitely uses art, draws from art a lot, but it's always in service of a point and the point always is to sell. So it's communication. Iba yun sa art kasi 'di ba yung art, it's your own expression kahit vague, kahit hindi maintindihan. Okay lang eh if it's beautiful. I mean, art, you can't define really it. Pero if you come in there thinking na you're gonna do some advertising though, are so well crafted and are so beautiful and are so clever and are so conceptual that they're considered art or they're very artful. But mafu-frustrate ka lang kung if you think you're coming into advertising thinking expecting that you will, do your art, parang ganun. It's gonna be frustrating for you if that's your mindset.
At so, sa advertising po, how much of an impact do you think commercials and advertising have? Kasi iba po, though may commercial, parang nakikita nila, pero hindi nila masyado na-absorb. Pero yung iba naman, napapabili sila nung nakikita nila ng product. So, ganong kalakas po talaga ba yung impact?
That's parang pag sinagot ko yan, tapos na usapan, nasagot ko na ang pwede nang tumigil lahat. Okay na, alam na, nasagot na ni Marlon. Because that's like the age-old question in advertising. Like, how does it affect? How do I answer that? There are tangible ways to do it. It has been proven na, kasi kami nakikita namin, kasi di ba clients would love to measure everything. Siyempre, investment nila yan. They want pera yan. Naglabas silang pera. They always want to track how it comes back to them. Like, we've always noticed na ang mga brands, when their commercials are on air, they can't necessarily link a certain sale. Ito, napabili to kasi napanood yung ganyan. But just that, pwedeng hindi mo maramdaman habang nag-air ka. Pero nararamdaman nila definitely when they go off air. Kunyari tapos na, they stop airing the commercial. Generally talaga bumababa ang sales. So, I don't know how no one exactly, lalo na TV, kasi nga sa digital, mas madali dahil everything's data eh. Everything is, trackable eh. Pero noon, even nung pre-social media, maraming agency, yan ang trabaho mag-measure eh. Sure, hindi mo ma-connect. Hindi mo ma-directly ma-connect kung bumili ba si Aling Nena ng surf dahil napanood yung surf commercial. Hindi mo necessarily ma-connect yun or dahil nakita yung billboard. But definitely what is true is when you're off air or yung billboard mo tinanggal mo na, bumababa talaga. Lalo na for extended periods. Kunyari, for 2 months kang nag-air and then the rest of the year wala na. I-compare mo yung sales mo nung time na meron and then time na wala. Generally, mas mababa yung wala. Kasi I would think, okay, this is a long discussion again. Tsaka hindi rin naman ito ang final word on this definitely. Dahil nga kung ito na yung final word, tapos ng usapan. But awareness eh. There's something about humans and trust, I think. Yung parang, this is not conscious eh. A lot of it is not conscious to us people. Yung parang, okay, kunyari ikaw, na lagi mo nakikita, boys and paint, di ba? Wala namang relation sa'yo. Magpipinta ka ba ng bahay? Never. Pero years and years, di ba lagi na, wala bata ka pa nakakakita ka na ng boys and commercial. Boys and commercial, billboard, ganyan. Hindi ka naman bibili ever. So parang ano naman sense nun? But when you hit, for example, age 38, nasawa ka na, gusto mo nang gumawa ng bahay. Pupunta ka, wala kang alam with stuff, right? Pupunta ka sa Home Depot. Ano ba yung mga malalaking bilihan ng mga home stuff? Pagpunta ka sa aisle ng mga pintura. One way or another versus another brand na never mo pang narinig. Most likely you would go to a brand that's familiar na to you. That's what happens. That there's some trust because it's familiarity breeds trust and awareness breeds familiarity. So kahit hindi siya relevant sa'yo ngayon, minsan ganun na lang basta lumalabas kami sana nga, sinasabi may mga argument ka na, hindi naman, it doesn't really matter ano yung content, gaano kaganda yung commercial, as long as meron. Minsan may ganung pang, I think that's very reductionist naman, parang that's like oversimplifying things, but in the end though, kapag nawala ka, ito yung hindi pa rin nagbabago talagang truth. Out of sight, pag hindi ka na nakikita, out of mind. So, yun ang years and years ko, yun talaga yung so, if you ask me how is it related, how can you compute for it, hanggang ngayon pinagtatalunan pa yan. At wala pang final na sagot yan. But, yun yung what it does naman. It makes your brand familiar. And when the time comes to purchase, for some reason talaga, humans would go to number one, sale, kung pera, di ba, budget, price point. Yan naman number one, syempre. But other than that, minsan nga, willing bumili ng mas mahal. Basta familiar. Parang, ang hirap naman lalo na kung bigger ticket items, di ba? Kahit okay lang na minsan mas mahal yung babayaran mo. Pero mabibili mo naman yung brand na parang emotional tayo eh. Hindi siya rational. Di ba? Emotional eh. Parang, susugal ba ako dyan? Ipipitura ko bahay ko yun. Di ba? Baka naman toxic pa yan eh. Sabi ng boys yan, 10 years of communicating. Safe to, badly put. Hindi naman yun ang communication ng boys. Pero kunyari ganun, safe to. Safe sa bata, safe sa'yo, safe sa asawa mo, ganun. Hindi to nakakalason pag na-inhale. 20 years of that, diba? Kahit hindi mo siya masyadong pinapansin. Once may instance ka lang na kailangan magde-default ka to something that's familiar to you. Ganun. But that's baka may nakarinig nito na ibang professional din sabihin, hindi, bullshit yan, ganyan, mali si Marlon doon kasi ganyan. Sure, I'm sure somebody can make a point, but generally, in my experience, yun, awareness, at the very least, advertising aids awareness and awareness of a brand, di ba? Aware ka na may outside Rexona, meron palang Old Spice, meron na palang deodorant ang Dove. Mga ganun eh. Awareness lang. At the very least, advertising can deliver on that. And awareness is like, I wouldn't say, maybe even more than half the battle. A lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times, awareness is key. Yun nga. So, haba ng sagot ko. Pero yun, awareness is key.
Parang somehow nakakapag-develop na rin siya ng trust para sa product. Kasi yung thinking po ng iba nagiging, ito yung nakita ko, ito na lang yung gagamitin ko. Kasi parang pag mas madalas silang nakikita, di ba, parang tingin nila, yun yung mas kaya nilang parang
Yeah.
kaya nilang depend doon.
Oh,
Nakita
ganito
na,
na lang, napapanahon, not to be partisan, okay, about this, but why do you think, why do you think in the last maybe 50 years of Philippine politics, parang pare-parehas yung names na nananalo sa Senado? Bakit umuulit? Yung sabi natin dynasty. It's more than that eh. A lot of it is because people don't even know yung anak na pala ng, kunyari, Anggara, ang binoboto nila. It's just that, alam nila, Anggara, parang matagal na yun, parang okay, parang ganun eh. At when it
opo.
comes down to it, kung hindi ka naman sobrang, kung mas, di ba, hindi ka naman sobrang consensus na voter, di ba, why do you think? Why do you think the more prominent names, it's a brand exercise. It's an awareness. In the end, it's an awareness contest. Politics, in the end, elections become awareness contest. So that's another point for advertising. What na may impact talaga ang advertising. Kasi the fact that we have the same similar names out there for the last maybe 50 years at the least is testament to awareness being key. And when we talk awareness, diyan papasok ng advertising.
And since yun na po yung, parang matagal na po siyang ina-advertise, na parang nabibring down siya by generation kasi yun din yung kilala ng parents, yun din yung alam ng grandparents na ginagamit nila at sasabihin din nila sa child nila na, ito ang gamitin mo, ito yung ginagamit namin noon. So parang
Yeah.
lalo lang siya.
Di ba? Why do you think kunyari, not to be partisan, okay? Just an example. Sara Duterte. Carpio na siya technically. But do you think she would use Carpio in the ballot? Definitely not. It has to be Duterte Carpio para kasi walang boboto sa Carpio. Nobody knows Carpio. Right? Yun lang, not to be partisan about it. Just an example, di ba? So, kung tama ka, binoto nung magulang noon, parang narinig mo na, kung hindi ka naman consensus na voter, yung tunog na narinig mo na would seem, mag-a-attribute ka na sa kanya ng iba-ibang traits like, dependable, baka okay, baka competent. Kasi tagal na niyan dyan eh. Parang ganun. So, awareness is key versus between a name that you've never heard of, hindi ka naman political na tao, hindi ka naman talaga magano dyan. Name recall, name brand awareness. What are names but brands anyway, right? So, yun. So I think that's testament to the ability and the power of advertising. I'm not saying it's advertising. It's like the most powerful force out there in culture. It's not, definitely not, but I think it's a force, yeah.
It's very strong po. So, ayun sa advertising, does having celebrities, really affect the overall success of a product? Like, mas mataas ba yung nagiging sales kapag kumuha sila ng patok na tao?
The simple answer is yes. I hate to say it, but parang minsan kami, as creatives, diba, gusto mong gumawa ng gandang story, like, mind-blowing, di ba? Mind-blowing commercial story. Kunyari, RC Cola. Di ba walang celebrity doon? Ang wild ng story. Like, may pag-usapan ganyan. But, we've seen it time and time again. Tatalunin sa sales yun ng isang commercial competing product na pag kinuha ng Coke si Sarah Geronimo tapos kumanta si Sarah. Tapos pinakita niya yung Coke. Wala na talaga eh. It's real. Celebrity power is real. It's one of those things that, bakit kaya? And then we get into philosophical discussions na about psyche of, di ba? But BTS meal, ano ba yung BTS meal? Fries at nuggets. Di ba nga may mga joke na, I've been eating BTS meal since I was a kid. I didn't know ito pala yung BTS meal. But it doesn't matter up until BTS arrived and then they became this sensation and then you love them and then McDo came up with this yung kinakain mo last week, bago i-launch, yun ang in-order mo last week, fries and nuggets. Pero ngayon, BTS meal na siya. Right? So, celebrity. I almost lost my point, but it's real. Yeah, it's, I don't know, there must be studies about it, but maybe it has to do with us being social animals. We always look up to role models, their symbols, diba? So, and it doesn't necessarily even mean kung fanatic ka, kunyari fan ka ni Sarah, kaya ka bibili nung kung ano man yung pinopromote niya. Minsan hindi eh. Minsan, again, babalik ako dun sa minsan it just shows credibility. Kunyari, you're confronted with two products. Isa you've never heard of, you've never even seen any ad of it. Wala kang alam sa product na to, hindi ka maalam. Kunyari, ano ba hindi ka maalam? Hindi ka maalam, kunyari, sa power tools. Ikaw, ewan ko, hindi ko, may guitars ka dyan, kaya hindi ko sabihin baka maalam ka sa guitars eh. Pero kung kunyari, power tools, ako rin, hindi ako maalam sa power tools. So, parehas tayo. Kung ma-confront tayo ng purchasing decision, we have to buy, a barena, electric na barena. Wala tayong kalam-alam. Ikaw nabibili, wala kang magpapatanungan. Eh, nakita mo doon, may poster ni Vin Diesel. Hawak niya. Yung isa, wala. Nasa stante lang. Baka bilhin mo yung kay Vin Diesel. Wala. It's kind of irrational eh. It's kind of irrational eh. But, yeah. Familiarity. Again, connection. Again,
Okay.
some parang lagi tayong naghahanap ng line of trust eh, I guess is. That's just me, yun, speculation na yun. But what is it about? Parang between one na wala kang kalam-alam, and then another one na may celebrity. Punta mo yung celebrity. Pero ibang usapan, for example, yung nag-research ka talaga. So kahit anong celebrity pa yan, kung ito yung magandang product in your search, wala yun. Talo yun. Diba? Kahit mas mahal pa to eh. Diba? Parang ganun. Yun.
Kasi minsan nako-connect rin yung mismong product sa tao. Like, pag bibili po kunwari, ito ba yung ginamit niyo? Ito ba yung ina-advertise? Ito yung pina-promote niya dun sa commercial. So, parang, yun na po agad yung...
It sounds basic, it almost stupid. I'm sorry to say, but not to say, I'm not calling, the audience stupid, but it is what it is. Parang minsan nga, I've read somewhere na, minsan it's not even like that. Just because ginamit ni Bossing yan, ni Big Soto. Hindi eh, minsan, ang computation sa utak nila is, yung brand na to, kayang magbayad ng Big Soto, baka reliable sila. Minsan ganun. It all plays up in the subconscious. It's not something, if you ask somebody, ba't mo binili yan? Hindi niya ma-verbalize sa'yo yun. But studies have shown na minsan may ganung factor na parang between something na you don't know at all, wala kang nakita about it, the product, and then the same product but different brand, and may endorser na kilala mo. Minsan ganun ang computation. It computes that way, but all of it is the back of your mind. Na, basta trust ko yun kasi mukhang mas stable silang kumpanya. Hindi ako lokohin yan. Medyo ganun eh, kasi they can afford Big Soto. Bakit di ako lokohin yan? But it's all subconscious. Mga ganun. So yes, the short answer I gave to you, yes. Celebrity has power. Not just, hindi lang sa atin yan. I'm not saying Pinoy lang yan. No, even in the US, it's like that. In Europe, it's like that.
Okay. And so, sa other side naman, besides po sa celebrities, yung trends, dapat din ba kino-consider yun as major influence kapag naggagawa ng advertisement?
Yeah, there's a corny way and a not creative and parang there's a way to do it na hindi productive or like lame. For lack of a better word, diba? There's a lame way to use trends and using trends, featuring trends, trend jacking ang tawag, diba? Using it on your ads, featuring trends on your ads doesn't guarantee success. It's how you use it then. So, minsan nga mapapakringe ka lang eh dahil sa yung obvious na kasi ang ginagawa nun is it is signaling instead of embodying na kunyari kilala ko hot topic to ngayon sa advertising kasi all our brands want to target Gen Z. Gen Z. Ginagawa yan ng Gen Z so dapat para bilhin nila tayo i-portray natin sila. That is a widespread fallacy eh. para bilhin ka ng, para magustuhan ka ng Gen Z at hindi ibig sabihin ipakita mo sila or umakto kang Gen Z. Di ba? Hindi eh. Hindi yun necessary. Parang, pero yun kasi yun yung madali eh. Yun yung parang easy logic for a lot of brands na parang, I want to appeal to the Gen Z, therefore, I should show them, I should show Gen Z, should feature them, I should sound like them. It's not, you have to dig deeper than that. Before Gen Z, millennials. Magkaiba silang tao pero the discipline is the same. Parang don't just feature them. Parang make something that they would like. Kasi ba lahat ba na nagustuhan ng Gen Z feature Gen Z? Hindi naman. Bakit gusto ng Gen Z ang Game of Thrones? May Gen Z ba doon? Bakit gusto did they make a big deal of Gen Z in Game of Thrones? Hindi naman. Bakit gusto siya ng Gen Z? Gusto rin siya ng millennial. Gusto rin siya ng boomer. Di ba yung parang hindi necessary na yun. I'm talking about the lame way or the lazy. Ayun, baka that's a better term. The lazy way of using trend. But definitely, yun nga eh, creatives, both copywriters and art directors, basta creatives in general, advertising people, not just even creatives, pati strat planning, pati accounts people. Always, alam mo yung image of ano yung tenga mo sa ground to hear kung may parating. Kailangan eh. Kasi you need to know where the people are. Kasi communication siya eh. So, you have to, it's always outward looking. Yun yung difference ng advertising sa art. Art is about the artist. Diba? What the artist want to explain. Advertising is about the audience. It's never about you. Yun yung medyo maraming mistake lagi ng brands kasi brands would always think it's about my brand, it's about my product. No, it's not about you. If you make it about you, audiences will smell it right away. It doesn't matter kung Gen Z and millennial ano bumili. The moment your ad is solely about you, amoy agad nila yan. Ay, nagbebenta. Di ba pag may tumawag nga sa'yo, experience ko pag may tumatawag na number sa akin, yung unknown number, alam ko marketing yan. Pero minsan hindi mo alam kasi baka emergency, di ba, kung sino. Pasagutin mo. Pero the moment pagbukas pa lang, hello, Mr. Marlon Borreo, mali po yung pagkasabi ng pangalan mo. Alam mo nang, as in, why did I answer this? I know it. Nagbebenta. Ayaw mo nun eh. Ayaw mo yung feeling ng hihintuin ka, bebentahan ka. Di ba, parang you hate it eh. Ayaw mo yun. Interruption yun eh. Ayaw mo yun. So, trend, may long answer to trend jacking is, if you use trends in a lazy way na you just feature it and then hoping na bebenta ka na doon sa target market mo because you featured a trend na uso sa kanila, that's not the best way to use it. But those who use trends and find a clever way to connect it to something na intrinsic sa brand, they give it a twist na sila lang yung pwedeng gumawa or sila yung naunang gumawa. Yon, then those are the best ways to use trends. For example, yung mga sayo sa TikTok. Lahat naman ng brands, halos yan ang peg ngayon eh. Parang gawa tayo kasi usong-uso TikTok. So, yung mga sayo sa TikTok, yung mga moves, nakikita mo sa commercials, sa sayawan. Parang, I'm not sure that's the best way to do that. Right? I have no answer right now kung ano yung better way. Wala akong may silang example. But, just merely parang transplanting it from kung saan siya uso, tapos lalagay mo sa material mo, sa commercial mo, sa communications mo. People smell audiences smell the fakeness, the manipulation very easy. Very quick. It's not just Gen Z, not just the young people. Lahat ng audiences across the board are very quick to get turned off by ads that feel like ads, that smell like ads, that sound like ads. So, trends, sure, importante yan. But, put a twist to it. Make it fresh. Or make a point. Have a point in why you're using it. Ano yung point? I'm not saying point na parang, world peace, ganyan. Hindi naman. But more like, have a POV na connected na pasok sa brand mo. More energy, mas happy. Kunyari, pag ginagamit. On top of my head lang. More energy, Enervon, more energy, mas happy. How do you use that? How do you connect a TikTok dance to the essence of more energy, mas happy? Diba? Do it more energetically than those TikTok people do it. Baka nakakatawa yun. O baka yun. Baka that's a way to do it. Or feature many, ito nagkaka-idea ako. Lahat ng, pakita mo lang yung mga TikTokers, sumasayaw, lahat nakangiti. Di ba wala ka naman nakitang TikToker na, wala ka naman nakitang sumasayaw na mukhang malungkot? Bakit? Kasi more energy, mas happy. Parang gano'n, di ba? Pwede mong gawing, make it a point about your brand. So, di ba? Wala ka naman nakitang sumayaw, malungkot, di ba? Kasi ang taong happy, may energy. Kaya mag-enervo. Ayun, nabibentahan ko na kayo. Okay. Bigyan kliyente. It's just that, it's just on the top of my mind now. Yun ang naisip ko. So, yun, di ba? Make it say something about you, not just Ann Curtis, sumasayaw nung TikTok dance, tapos by Enervon. Parang wala kang sinabi. Ginagawa yung moves. Yun. So, there's a lazy way and there's an interesting and clever and natural, I guess. Natural for the brand na way to, and therefore, effective way to do it.
Pero ayun po yung sa commercial, nangyayari nga po yun minsan na yung trend, basta lang nalalagay. Especially po yung mga generation ngayon, napapansin nila, sinasabi, nakikiuso lang naman to, pero hindi naman bagay. So parang,
Exactly. Yun, ang daling maamoy nung nakikiuso lang to. Diba? Parang, ayun na. Diba? Whereas, baka di mo lang gawin, kunyari dati, ewan ko kung anong age ka nun nung nauso yung McDo. Burger. Pa-burger ka naman. Uy, Bangs! Burger ka naman. Burger. That came from out of nowhere. Parang magpauso ka. It appealed back then to Gen Xers or millennials. Millennials, sa amin. Millennials. It appealed to us. It portrayed millennials, but it's millennials yung characters yung age, college age yun college days ko yun but it's something that we haven't done, millennials haven't done before, parang bago siya pero millennials pinakita niya, pero fresh, bago, diba? So, then it became a thing, gusto ng millennials, it became a thing of millennials, hindi lang siya literally kumuha ng ano na yung usong ginagawa nila. Kasi pakita mo sa commercial, slap on mo yung brand natin or yung product natin, pahawak mo or sayawan nila. Parang, that's, di ba? Ayun, nakikiuso. Huwag ka makiuso. Better, ang goal mo is magpauso. Better naman na magpauso than makiuso. If you're gonna use something na ginagawa na nila, so basically, late ka na, di ba? By the time na, usually late ka na, you might as well have something fresh that you will bring, something new that you will bring to it, di ba? Ganon. Kung wala ka talaga maisip na bago man, at the very least, kunin mo man lang pagsamasamahin mo man lang si Ann Curtis, yun, kumuha ka lang ng maraming sikat, parang taas mo yung budget, di ba? At least yung mga tao, wow!
Sama-sama lang sila doon.
Oo, parang Avengers unite na lang, assemble tayo kung ganun. At least yun, star power mo daanin. Something pa rin yun. As we talked about, di ba, celebrities, powerful, di ba? O mag-Ocean's 11 ka na dyan. Kasi, wow, lahat star. Interesting. Kahit sabihin mo magti-TikTok dance lang sila, yung mga ginagawa ng mga normal na tao lahat sa TikTok, biglang gawin nila Solen, nila Nico Bolzico, pag samasamahin mo sila. Kaya nga lagi sikat yung laging sikat yung ABS-CBN station ID.
Opo.
Right? It's just a song. Sure, if you hear it on the radio, normal song, baka hindi mo pansinin. Pero pag nakita mo ng sinasayaw ni Vice, sinasayaw ni Bernadette Sembrano, from the newscaster to the crew to the lahat ng artista nila, cool na. Nakukulan ka na. Kaya wala pa akong nakitang station ID ng ABS na pumalpak Kasi it's hard to get it wrong kung gagamitin mo silang lahat ng star power nyo. So, yun, di ba? Pwedeng may mas magandang song. Sure, pwedeng mas maganda yung song ng TV5, for example. Kung song lang ang pag-uusapan. I'm not saying na mas maganda. I'm just giving example na it's possible na mas magandang song ng isang ng another station. Pero you don't have their celebs So you'll never have that power. So lagi silang panalo. Kasi may something else. Di ba? May something So yun, yung something else that you will bring kung it's something naman na nagagawa na or nauulit na or ginagawa na ng lahat as the original question, trend. Haba ng sagot ko, no? Yun, you might as well, kung late ka na to the party, you might as well be loud. Di ba? Kung gate crasher ka na, huwag ka ng corny. Marty ka na.